The federal government should carry the burden of aviation staff salaries so that the agencies don't milk the airlines to death. That's from our guest on the program, himself a pilot and airline owner.
Let us take this IGR business out of aviation in terms of salary. Because I will be the last person to recommend that you should fire anybody. No. Keep them. We will find use for them. But then when we have other ministries that get IGR from, subvention from government, let the salary bit of aviation transfer back to the subvention. If we do that, it will help the agencies to reduce all those unnecessary costs that airlines have to bear. So they will operate like other clients. And then it will keep these airlines surviving much, much longer. Airline is not like the bank. When people keep telling me that we say that the airlines have refused to merge, it doesn't make sense. You see, airline is not ordinary business that every part of it, including the chief executive, should be knowledgeable in the industry. So that when his subordinates are reporting certain situations, he can pick it quickly. Because why do we fly when the best seats and the most expensive seats we can find in cars? But we fly on airplane because we are flying for time. So in aviation, we don't have time to be dilly-dallying over issues. Otherwise, it becomes a whole mess. So we need to do things swiftly. And the best way to do it is to do things positively like is recommended. ICAO has a way, they have outlined how you should do your aviation. You know, they make you clear that safety must never be compromised in everything you do. But besides the safety, there are other two things, your economy and then your political considerations. Those are things you can juggle with. So these things I'm telling you fall under those two. It has nothing to do with safety. Cooperate. You don't necessarily need to merge and become one. Imagine two people in competition, you are not telling them to come together. One, why do we allow many people to compete? So we improve quality. It will lower quality eventually also, because we become one whole body and there's no competition, so whatever we hand out, it is all you have. So it's not even in the interest of the public to merge everybody into one body. We can align ourselves, like you have BA and KLM and all those, they have interline agreement, you have One World Alliance, you have and so on and so forth. Meaning you don't have to fly into every location where your presence is or where you can sell ticket to. You are flying between Ijebu-Ode and Ilorin. I'm flying between Karanamuda and Sokoto. So I can sell, and then somebody is flying between Ilorin and Sokoto and so on. So we can interline and agree. He sells our tickets, collects the money, and then collects the portion for the leg he did himself. Then you take that for the portion that you did. And then we meet at the end of the day and share the money. That is what we can do. And I believe most of the people I've talked to that are talking about this interline thing, or we should join hands and form one single airline, they meant that. Because when you talk deep, then you see that that's what they're actually referring to. Because we all have our models to sell. So that's why it will not be in the best interest to say the airline should come together and form one company. There will be too much boxing in the boardroom. Well, it is still beautiful. You see, you know, without it today, tell me how we can function as a nation. It is so important that we understand that. So it's still a viable business. I'm talking to people outside. They're still trying to come. And I ask them, with all this, they say my country is over. And they say, no, the business is here. Because where there is crowd, then transportation becomes a viable business, correct? So aviation is a transportation business. So aviation, in domestic aviation, is good. The only problem is that I want to appeal to government. In order to develop our capacity domestically, we need to make sure that the point of entry for foreign airlines is limited, so that we as the local ones can interline with them and distribute their passengers. But if we have multiple entry points all over, then those who used to come into Lagos and then intended for Abuja, they will no longer come if they have a flight from outside to Abuja. So you see how we can also play this game like others are doing and make sure we safeguard our domestic sector so that we can grow our domestic capacity. It creates jobs. It stops capital flight, right? If we have if we have airlines that come only to Lagos, now we will take the portion of distribution. The money stays in. But Nigerians fly a lot, as you know. Most of these airlines come into Nigeria. If you count the passengers on every flight, more than 60% are Nigerians. So now we are selling the ticket, they are buying tickets to the foreign airlines, right? It's our money now going out. But if we have a capacity local, then the money stays in Naira and stays here. So our foreign exchange rates with other currencies will actually even begin to gain strength. So I feel that is what we should begin to do.
Newsflash takes off with the foiling of the trafficking of a 3-month-old boy aboard an Air Peace flight to Banjul in the Gambia. The airline says it was able to intercept the traffickers owing to the vigilance of the crew members who noticed a baby crying inconsolably and became suspicious after the woman who claimed to be the baby's mother refused to nurse the infant. An airport staff in Banjul quickly called for the intervention of the Banjul International Airport BIA police station in the Gambia, where the suspected traffickers were arrested. Nigeria's aviation ground safety ratings has just been upped as Dana Air becomes the latest African airline to be listed on the International Air Transport Association IATA Ground Operations Manual Registry. The International Ground Operations Manual Registry is for companies and airlines who have demonstrated full compliance with internationally recognized standards for ground handling processes. According to IATA, ground operations are essential tasks for all airlines and ground service providers to deliver smooth turnarounds and on-time departures, with safety being the #1 priority. As part of efforts to alleviate a foreign currency crunch in Ethiopia, the government has passed a resolution to partially privatize the country's giant state-owned enterprises, including the 100% publicly owned national flag carrier, Ethiopian Airlines. Ethiopian Airlines Group CEO Tewolde Gebremariam said the government will put up for sale shares of the airline for foreign and local investors. Gebremariam said the government of Ethiopia will retain the majority stake of the airline. According to the International Air Transport Association, Ethiopia became Africa's largest airline, overtaking Egypt Air and South African Airways in 2014. And on the foreign scene, a Lufthansa Airbus A340-300 has been damaged heavily and 10 people landed in a clinic to check for potential respiratory issues after a towing truck caught fire at Frankfurt Airport early in the week. The 10 people include ground crew and fire brigade staff involved in putting out the blaze. Lufthansa in a statement says the fire occurred while the truck was repositioning the aircraft, which had no passengers or crew on board at the time. State carrier Air China has resumed regular flights between Beijing and Pyongyang as diplomatic relations improve between China and North Korea.
If they open this flight route or allow travelers to get visas and go there, I think that means our country must have quite good relations with North Korea. And when it comes to Chinese people's personal safety, there will be a certain amount of protection. And also, if there are any tense political relations, then that is something which is quite far away from us ordinary people. I think the citizens of our two countries are friendly to each other.
China's flag carrier indefinitely suspended flights between the two cities in November 2017, citing poor demand. The suspension came at a time when ties had been frayed by Pyongyang's nuclear weapons program and Beijing's backing of tough UN sanctions in response. allows travelers to book tickets for the CA121 route from Beijing to Pyongyang, which flies on Monday, Wednesday and Friday afternoons.
When we return after the break, our special report is next.